Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this rule and in support of the underlying legislation. Last night, the Rules Committee met and produced a rule providing for consideration of three pieces of legislation: H.R. 2240, H.R. 2243, and H.R. 2255. Will all be considered under a closed rule, each with 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on the Judiciary or their respective designees. Additionally, the rule provides each with a motion to recommit. Republicans are here in Washington this week to continue to work on behalf of the American people. This is, in fact, Police Week, but we have been busy this year, this Congress, delivering for the American people. So far this Congress, we have passed legislation to secure our elections. H.R. 22, the SAVE Act. Hold rogue activist judges accountable. H.R. 1526. Bring transparency to institutes of higher education. H.R. 1048. Make changes to our border with the Lake and Riley Act and the Halt Fentanyl Act, and to repeal the Biden-era harmful environmental regulations by passing what we call congressional review acts to undo the damage of the Biden administration. As Republicans continue to work on behalf of the American people and finalize the reconciliation products we are working on currently, we are also here to recognize National Police Week and the thousands of law enforcement officers who wake up every day to step on that thin blue line to defend and protect us. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. Yesterday, my staff and I got the opportunity to welcome police officers from New Braunfels, Texas, and hear about the challenges they face every day. I talk to the men and women of blue virtually every day in the district that I represent, as I know many of my colleagues do. My grandfather was the chief of police of a small West Texas town called Sweetwater. I was blessed to work in the United States Attorney's Office and Office of the Attorney General of the state of Texas, working every day with law enforcement. And what they do matters for the peace and security of our country. Our republic depends on having security on our streets. There are thousands of stories that I could share about the daily heroism of law enforcement officers across the country. Hundreds I could share even in the district I represent. Officer Dalton Schrader and Jason Wright on February 16, 2024, Austin Police Department officers Dalton Schrader and Jason Wright responded to 4-year-old William Martinez Romero, who was choking. The officers quickly jumped into action. Body cam footage shows Officer Schrader run to his cruiser to grab an anti-choking device he had bought with his own money to be prepared for situations just like this, while Officer Wright started supporting William with back blows. They saved his life that day. We must also remember that Police Week honors fallen peace officers, including one officer who died in the line of duty. Austin Police Department Senior Officer Ore Pastore died in action November 11, 2023, responding to a domestic violence call in South Austin. Hostages were held inside a home, and when officers attempted to enter, gunfire started to go off. The SWAT team was called in to help distract the suspect, one being Officer Pastore, who was trying to rescue the victims. I know I speak for many of my colleagues when I say we couldn't be more excited to welcome tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the country to D.C. this week. Let's be clear. House Republicans and President Trump have mobilized to restore order and sanity in the United States, something that had been lacking for years. I remember the days, as I know my colleagues do, in 2020, when there were fires and there was destruction rampant across the country, as our cities were being burned to the ground and law enforcement was being targeted. And it was unacceptable. And there are members of this body and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who were encouraging it, who were undermining our law enforcement officers, who were making it more difficult for them to carry out their job, who were challenging them. And it was important that we stood by them. And it is important now that the president and Republicans are standing by our law enforcement officers. Americans suffered due to the amplification of that extreme rhetoric against law enforcement. The homicide rate stayed significantly higher through 2022 after massively skyrocketing in the wake of 2020. The rule before us today is another step in helping law enforcement officers across the nation, which after 4 years of a Biden-run Department of Justice targeting police departments should be a welcome relief to our men and women in blue. This week, we'll consider 3 pieces of legislation to support our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. H.R. 2255, the Federal Law Enforcement Officer Service Weapon Purchase Act of 2025, which would allow federal law enforcement officers the opportunity to purchase the service weapons they used before obtaining a new one. H.R. 2243, the LEOSA Reform Act, which amends the Gun-Free School Zones Act to provide an exemption for law enforcement officers certified under the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act to carry a concealed firearm in a gun-free school zone. And H.R. 2240, improving law enforcement officer safety and wellness through DATA Act of 2025, which would require the Attorney General to submit a report to Congress that includes data to attacks on law enforcement. These bills are widely supported by law enforcement groups: the Association of State Criminal Investigative Agencies, Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, Major Cities Chiefs Association, Major County Sheriffs of America, National Association of Police Organizations, National Narcotics Officers Associations Coalition, and Sergeants Benevolent Association, NYPD, sent a letter on March 25, 2025 to the House Judiciary Committee urging support of these bills and advancement to the House floor. I reserve.